Good afternoon. So my name's Neil Tilling. I work for HP Indigo. Very briefly, I've worked for HP for about 15 years and HP Indigo for the last 8. What's fun listening to Fred, when I joined HP 15 years ago, the buzzword in the industry, in business, was everybody was talking about the paperless office. So perhaps moving to the largest print business on the planet at that time wasn't so smart. But fortunately, for probably all of us in this room, the paperless office never really happened. And in fact, printing has grown over the last 15 years. And that's really what I'm going to talk about for the next 20 minutes. I'm not going to talk about Indigo specifically, because I know Lawrence's team are going to do that for me. So, you know, I'll leave the experts to it. I'll give you a little introduction to HP and the graphics arts business. And then I'm going to talk about print in general. So let's start with the mandatory, you know, I'm here from HP, as I said, we're the largest print business on the planet. We ship about 1 million printers a week, every week of the year. Unfortunately, most of them are the little ones that go into your home and into your office and don't do the kind of graphics arts. But in graphics arts, we have a massive portfolio. And this is only a small selection. From small machines like the design jets, which run from A3 up to about 60 inches wide, through what we go from large format to wide format, differentiation being them's is bigger than them. You know, the Cytex machines go up to the likes of, you know, vehicle wraps, even building wraps. So, you know, between this range and lower down the range, we like to say we can print everything from a postage stamp to a building wrap. But in the graphics arts business, Indigo is really what we're here today to talk about. And we have a range of presses now running from SRA 3 size up to B2 size, focusing on the sheet fed, although we also do have reel fed machines as well. And then further up the line, we have our inkjet web presses. So these are very high speed, high volume inkjet machines, which, you know, printing the likes of magazines, newspapers, etc. So pretty much anything you want to print, we've got a machine to do it. And what does that give us? The broadest range of digital applications. So you can see some things here from things like, you know, brochures, posters, vehicle wraps, food labels, point of sale stands. You know, printing is a lot wider than the average person on the street thinks about. And when I talk about a paperless office, when we talk about print, that's what most people think about. It's what comes out on an A4 sheet of a printer in the office or at home. But print is absolutely critical to everybody, including the world's largest brand. And you know, in Indigo, we print for some of the major brands. Whether it's personalized brochures for some of the vehicle manufacturers, through to airlines, pharma, finance, you know, we're absolutely across the, well, what's lovely is that we do all of Apple's printing, because Apple have very, very high specifications about color consistency on all of their literature, right from the, you know, instruction manual that comes in the box to their marketing collateral, and only Indigo is certified to print Apple literature. So, when I talked about the paperless office, the reason this was all started was because of the rise in electronic communication. 2012, I'm not entirely up to it today, but this is 2012 data. In 2012, 2.3 billion people are online, and 6 billion mobile subscriptions are open across the world. Now what's interesting, I checked up last night, and actually the global population at the moment is about 7.1 billion. But actually 25% of the global population is under the age of 14. So what that tells us is that there's more than one mobile subscription for every person on this planet over the age of 14. What that means is communication, and we all know now we've all got smartphones, we can all email via our phone, message via our phone, we're using Facebook and social media on our phone, we're even printing from our phones. It's become absolutely prevalent, the electronic style of communication. And in terms of the numbers, here's some more data for you. 1.8 trillion gigabytes of data created every year. 11 million apps available. 107 trillion emails sent to you. These are numbers that just don't make any kind of, you know, it's impossible. And the more data that's created, the harder it is to get a message to an end user. As a result, we are bombarded with competing media messages. And in fact, according to this data, we process about 3,000 brand messages every day. We pay attention to 52 of them and we remember 4. And the key to this is, how do we get ourselves to that 4? What we've got is 3,000 brand hits a day. You know, we've got advertising overflow. We've got brand awareness and the challenges of keeping our brand fresh, and the challenges of making sure that our brand maintains the right image. Hence my reference to Apple. You know, brand is everything to Apple. No question that brand is everything to Apple. That's why they are so very, very specific about the quality and the type of collateral of messaging that they're sending out to their customers. So here's an interesting one. What percentage of 18 to 24-year-olds prefer reading from paper than from a screen? Any guesses? Right number?
80.
80. Anybody else? Do we think too high, too low? 10%. So we've got quite a range there. The reason I ask this question is that almost every week somebody says to me, "You're in the print business, I thought print was dying." Because we're reading stuff on our smartphones, on our laptops, you know, we're watching a lot of TV, we've got PCs, we've got Macs, we've got tablets. You know, a lot of information is coming to us electronically, and people are saying, so where's the value in print? What's the point of print anymore? Well, the fact is, 83% of 18 to 24-year-olds still prefer reading from a paper. Although we're quite happy to get information from a screen, when we want to read something, when we want to digest something, we want to read a newspaper. We want the paper. Now, this is 2012 data. It'll be interesting to see how the likes of Kindle and e-reader take over from that. But the fact is, we have an emotional tie to print, to paper. So my message is that the internet and the electronic era doesn't kill print. You know, every new technology, they say, was supposed to kill old technology. So we look at, you know, digital cameras. It killed the old, what's it called? Film. I've forgotten even the name, silver halide. Yeah. So digital printing, along with digital cameras, killed the film industry, and it's pretty much killed the silver halide print industry. But media is not going to be killed by electronic, because print has a value which can't be replaced by digital. And just to prove this, we at HP conducted a study, or we commissioned a study, to see what the importance of print is, what the emotional tie to print is. And when we ask people, what does print mean to you? There's a lot of very emotional language that's used around print. It's a tactile thing. It's, you know, I love books. I mean, how many people in here have a bookshelf in their house? You know, have books? Because we love books. Even though we're electronic, we still love books. And print also allows us to control the output. So, you know, when we're sending electronic messages out, that tends to go out to many, many thousands, hundreds of thousands, perhaps even millions of people, to try and get as many as possible people as possible to respond. But we're sending out one message to many. It's not a very customized message. Now with print, we can make that message absolutely customized, and some of the examples you're going to see later on will demonstrate that. But we get control over the output. And print engages our mind. And this is what I mean about the emotional link to print. We love the tactile feel, and it's actually been proven that print evokes responses in the brain that electronic messaging does not. You know, the emotional responses, the perception and recognition, the visual interaction with print is very different to the visual interaction and the brain stimulation of a screen. And we get this emotional connection, as I mentioned. So we took this a little bit further, and we actually commissioned a study to see whether people could live without print. Okay? What's your initial response? Could you live without print? It's interesting. You ask a child this, could you live without print? And they, yeah, of course I could. I don't need anything on paper, I don't need print, you know, I've got my laptop, I've got my iPhone, I've got this, I've got that, I don't need print. We're all clearly a little bit more mature, and we understand the value of print, and we work in a business, of course, that requires print. What we did in this study is we asked a number of respondents to live without print for 4 days, to see how they got on. So we weren't asking too much, live without print for 4 days. So we did the study in Singapore, in India, and US to try and get a good cross-section of, you know, of people. In the timeline, we took away the print, we deprived these respondents of print and asked them to keep video diaries, and we conducted interviews. And then at the end of the experiment, we did some analysis to see what they thought. So here's what we got. Prior to the experiment, print amongst the people who took part was really all about what comes out of their printer at home. It's newspapers, it's books, it's magazines. After the experiment, their view on print absolutely 180 degrees had turned. It was a dramatic difference because the true scope of print that they recognised was way, way broader than they'd ever considered. And in fact, if we look at some of the things that they found were impossible to live without print, I mean the basic stuff like cosmetics, you know, which is our, you know, athlete's foot cream and which is our exfoliant. We don't want to be mixing them up, and without print on the bottle, it may be kind of challenging. What we found is very, very quickly into this experiment, the people who were taking part of it were actually saying, we can't do this, we can't possibly do this. And some of the other things that they said that they couldn't live without currency. Now it's okay, in the UK we have different size notes for different values. You go to the US and every dollar bill, whether it's a $1 bill or a $100 bill, is the same size. You don't have print on it, how do you know what you're paying? Your credit cards, you know, we need print on our credit cards. Road signs, okay, so we've all got sat-nav nowadays, but hey, in some countries where they don't, how do you get about without road signs? You've got your driving license, your passport, you've got receipts, you've got, you know, IDs, you've got tickets, all of these things. We cannot live without them print. And then when we get into you know, the more traditional print, you know, although we have email, we also need documents. You know, when I sign a new pricing contract for Lawrence, we need it on paper. We need a signature. Yes, it gets scanned and stored electronically, but we need that paper document. We're printing out emails. You know, I printed out this presentation so I could read it on the train into town, you know, because I didn't want to be doing it on the laptop. When it comes to school, you know, textbooks, workbooks, these kind of things. And of course, the keyboard. Could you use your laptop without print on the keyboard? Could you use your mobile phone without print on the keyboard? You know, print is a far, far more pervasive and more critical part of our lives than many, many people give it credit for. And the bottom line is print is here to stay. Print is absolutely around, and it's not going to die. And thanks to companies like 1stByte, digital print and Indigo digital print is driving the new forms of communication, new marketing, personalized and more powerful marketing forward. So, for me, thank you. That's what I wanted to talk about. I'm going to hand over to 1stByte, but again, I'm going to be here if we've got any questions afterwards to answer any questions you might have. Okay. Thank you.